Hey guys, welcome back to our first video. This is the login page of our student management system. So in this video we are going to create this using HTML and CSS. First thing you need to do is we need to create the project folder inside our XAMPP. So go to XAMPP htdocs and then here let's create this folder, student management system. I'm going to open my Sublime editor, and then here I'm going to open that project. So this one, and then going to full screen mode. I'm going to open or show the sidebar. Then I'm going to create a new file. I'll call it login.php. Let's start writing our HTML code. So here the title, let's just set this one to login and the name of the system. So student management system. So inside the body element or body tag, let's create a div. Let's add a class login wrapper and then a header, student management system. And then here let's add the form. So we'll just add a class of login form. And then here let's add a container of the input. So let's add an input group class. First let's add a label, so we'll capture the email. Type is email. Let's add an ID of email, and then this should be a required input. Next is let's add an input for our password. So first is add the label, and then the type is password, the ID set to password and set it to required. And then here, this is where we have a button. So basically we can switch what type of user we are trying to log in. So at the moment I have 3 possible users. So we have an admin, so this will be a radio button. So let's name it role value and admin, and then let's make it check, so it will be the default value. And then let's add a label. This is for the role admin and the label is admin. Now I'm just going to copy and then duplicate this, and instead of admin there would be another input for teacher, a login for teacher, and I'm going to remove the checked, and then here just update this one to teacher, this the label to teacher. Next is this one, which is for the student. Again, just going to update. Okay, so looks good. And this one, change the one. Next is we are going to add the button. This is the login button. So the type, let's set it to submit, and class is btn, and then let's call it login. Now let's visit it in the browser. So just type in localhost and that folder. So at the moment it is unreachable. The reason is we need to start the XAMPP. So I'm using XAMPP. Make sure we start the Apache and then the MySQL, and then let's refresh. So here let's click the login.php, and as you can see, this is how it looks like currently. Let's add styling to our HTML. So in the head tag, we're going to add the style sheet link. So we need to create that folder. So it's assets, CSS, and then here let's create a new file called style.css. So here I'm just going to change the layout to 2 screens so I can easily see the HTML code. So let's start. First is okay. So let's change all the box sizing of all the elements. Let's reset it to border box. So now let's start the body. So here let's just set the font family to Arial and then sans serif. The background, let's set it to this background green at the moment. The display set to flex, and then align items to center, and then let's justify content to the center. Set the height to 100 bh and then the margin to 0. Let's refresh. As you can see, the background, let's just change the background. So let's open the console. Then for the background, let's use this one, light gray background. Now let's add the class to our login wrapper. So let's set the width to 360 px. Set the padding to 2 rem and 2.5 rem. The background, the border radius, and then also the back shadow. And then let's have the color of this one. Whoa. As you can see, we have a nice back shadow. Next, it's the edge though, so I'm going to change the alignment of this to center, and then the margin bottom will set to 1.5 rem and color to that color. So now let's just increase the width of our login wrapper. It looks good. So next, let's add or style the input group. So let's add a bottom or margin bottom, and then the label, let's set the display to black, and then margin bottom, and then the font size, and then the color to 555. And then the input group will change the input. This one, let's with 200%, and then the padding, and then the border px. It's looking good. Let's add a radius to those, and then set the font size to 0.99 rem, and then set the outline to none. So it is now looking good. Let's set the transition to border color once we hover. Then here let's add this. So once we focus, the border color will be set to black. Fresh, as you can see it is black, but let's change that one to this color. It's blue, light blue. So let's add our additional to our switch buttons. First is for the role switch. Let's set the display to flex and justify content using space between, and then set the margin and the font size. Fresh, it's looking good. So what I'm going to do here is we'll remove that buttons. So the input type radio, that radio button, so we're going to display it to none. So it's removed now. And then here we are going to set the label, so flex equals 1, and then align the content in the label, and then add padding, and then let's set the border to this nice color. So it is now looking like a button, and the radius to 6px, and of course the pointer. So once you hover, it's a pointer. So next is let's add the transition. So the background, and then the color. So currently it won't affect since we still need to add that style. So once we hover, if it's checked, and the label, let's add a background green and color to white, and border color to this color, light blue, as you can see. But let's change the background to blue, this one. And then the border, I think looks good. So let's style the button. The width, let's set it to 100%, so it will take up the entire space, entire row. Let's set the padding, and then the background to blue, and the border to none. Radius to 6px. As you can see, it's looking good. And let's add the color to white, and the font size to 1 rem. Cursor, set it to pointer. As you can see, it is now looking good. Let's set the transition to the background to as 2.2 seconds. So once we hover, so actually that border radius, I like it to be flat, square, no border radius, I remove that one. And then once we hover on the BTN, let's set this background. So fresh, as you can see, we have this dark blue background. As you can see, we have created a nice and simple login page for our student management and system. So we have email input, password input, and then we have this role switches, and then we also added a nice button.